In this video, we would like to begin going through some of the review problems to discuss those. So number 1 says, determine if the variables are qualitative or quantitative. Justify your answer. In other words, give the reason why you think that this is a qualitative or quantitative variable. Remember that qualitative variables are like your categories. Okay? When we talk about the difference between quantitative, which are our numbers, and qualitative, our quantitative are things that we take the average of. We add, we subtract, we can multiply them. Categories just identify something. It's not that we can do anything with the numbers. So some numbers can be qualitative depending upon what it's discussing. Looking at the number of unpopped kernels in a bag of microwave popcorn. So it automatically says the number. Can we find out how many more is in one bag than the other bag? Yes. Can we take the average of these? Yes. Therefore, the number of unpopped kernels in a bag of microwave popcorn is quantitative because it is referring to how many. In other words, we can average them or anything of that nature. Now then, your phone number. When we think about phone number, it is a number. But let's stop and think about it. Do we add or subtract? Do we tell how many of anything when we're talking about a phone number? No. When we're discussing a phone number, it just identifies a phone or a person. So it's not that we want to take the average of our phone numbers, or we want to say this person's phone number is higher than this other person's. So phone number is actually a qualitative variable. Again, your phone number is a qualitative variable because you cannot tell how many or how much of something by this number. When we're talking about quantitative, we know how many, how much, that sort of thing. But for a phone number, we do not understand that. Okay. Determine if the variables are continuous or discrete. Continuous and discrete describe our quantitative variables, the ones with numbers. Discrete variables just means it's one number or it's another number. It can't be in between. Discrete especially describes people, number of items purchased, that type of thing. Continuous variables means it can be 10, or it can be 11, or it can be anything in between. These are more your measurements, such as number of ounces in a Coke bottle, or the height of someone. Those are actually continuous variables because they can be 5 foot 6 and 1/2 inch, 5 foot 6 and 1/4 inch. Anything in between those two also. Now there are some things that we just do a measurement, but there still can be something in between. So let's look at the daily volume of water lost through a leaky faucet. Well, this is a measurement. We're measuring that volume. Since we're measuring the volume, it is going to be a continuous variable. So the volume of water lost through a leaky faucet is a continuous variable since it is a measurement. We're measuring something. Part B, the number of donors at a blood drive. Well, the number of donors, we're talking about number of people. Can we have half a person? No, we can't. When we're talking about number of donors, it's either 4 donors or it's 5 donors. We can't have in between donors. Now, if we talk about how much blood is given, that is a continuous, but the number of donors is actually a discrete variable. So the number of donors at a blood drive is a discrete variable since it is countable. 1, 2, 3, and so forth. Based on a random sample of 1,224 students at a college, it is found that 87% own an automobile. Determine whether the underlined value is a statistic or a parameter. So remember that a statistic comes from a sample. A parameter comes from a population. So based on a random sample of 1,224 people, or students at a college, it is found that 87% own an automobile. Since we are discussing this sample, this is a statistic. So again, since we're discussing something from a sample, this number is actually a statistic. Okay. A survey of 200 adults in the United States found that 76% wear seatbelts while driving. Determine whether the underlying value is a statistic or parameter. Again, we're talking about a survey of 200 adults, making this a statistic. So 76% is a statistic since it is discussing the 200 adults surveyed. Remember, those that are surveyed are our sample. When we want to look at all adults or all students at a college, these become our population. Out of 50 rural counties, a sample of 8 is chosen at random, and all farmers in the 8 counties selected are surveyed about a pesticide use. What type of sampling was used? Convenience, cluster, systematic, stratified, simple, random. And explain your reasoning. So there are 50 rural counties in whatever state they're looking at. A sample of 8 is chosen, and all farmers in this county, in these 8 counties, are surveyed. So we have broken them up into groups based on their counties. We have taken 8 of those counties, and we asked everyone in that county, or in those 8 counties, about the pesticides. Since we have broken them up into groups, that leaves us with either stratified or convenience. Stratified or cluster. We took a sample of 8. That could still be stratified or clustered, but we asked everyone in those 8 counties. Therefore, it now becomes a cluster because we took clusters of the counties and we surveyed everyone in those clusters. So again, since we're looking at 50 counties, we took 8 of them and we selected all farmers. This type of sampling is considered cluster sampling since all the farmers in the selected counties are surveyed. The next question. A group of lobbyists has a list of 100 senators of the United States. To determine the Senate's position regarding farm pesticides, they decide to talk to every 7th senator on the list. What type of sampling was used? So since they have a list and they're talking to every 7th senator, that means that they have some type of system as far as selecting these senators. This is considered a systematic type of sampling. Again, because it's 7th senator, this type of sampling is considered systematic since they're taking every 7th item or 7th senator for the survey. Go ahead and work some of the other problems, and then let me know if you have any questions.